This video focuses primarily on the .22 caliber, 18.1 grain JSB Diablo Exact and the accuracy fluctuations I've seen between 3 separate tins of that pellet. Also, a simple modification to the pellet that can make a major improvement in group size when shot out of my Benjamin Marauder. You may recall in my Benjamin Marauder 60-yard accuracy and energy testing video that the JSB Diablo Exact did quite poorly in the accuracy category. In fact, out of the 15 different pellets tested, it was one of 3 that did so bad that not one group size could even be measured due to pellets completely missing the 8.5 by 11 paper target. Which is too bad, because the pellets performed quite well otherwise. Although I did not mention it in the video, I later calculated it as being tied for first place with the .25 caliber JSB Exact Kings for having the highest ballistic coefficient of .034. Near the end of that video, I showed the results of a modification I did to the Diablo Exacts that improved their horrible accuracy considerably. In fact, if I'd used those group size measurements instead of the unmodified ones, they would have won first prize in accuracy out of all the 15 pellets tested by more than 1/4 of an inch. Due to time constraints, and knowing I would make a separate and probably long video on just the modification of the Diablo Exacts, I omitted those 3 10-shot group scenes from that earlier video. So let's watch them now. The pellet modification process is actually quite simple. It basically involves spreading the piston skirt slightly to fit the barrel a little bit tighter. To hold a pellet, I started out with this little doodad, which is another project, but it worked okay. The biggest problem was it was hard to get my fingers in there and a hammer at the same time and do the work. And it also left a ring around the dome of the pellet because of the sharp edge on the inside of the hole there. So I made a much slimmer pedestal, and I formed the top of that using a 7/32 bearing ball and a press, and I smashed it in there real good, and it formed a pretty good match to the dome on the pellet. Okay, the first thing I do is try to lap in the dome of the pellet a little bit in that 7/32 hole in the holder. Try to get any highs that might be sticking up and knock them off. I'm not sure if it really helps a lot, but I figure it can't really hurt. Then I take a regular everyday BB, place it in the skirt, and get it all nice and straight. That's probably the hardest part, is getting that thing somewhat straight, but you get the idea there. And then I take a regular hammer and give it a couple taps. You can kind of hear when it hits the base of the pellet in there, the inside midsection. And it'll also kind of leave a little dimple in the back from the BB hitting it. And that's about it. Once you kind of get all set up and going, it doesn't really take too long to get a few dozen pellets modified. That's about it. None of the other types of 22 caliber pellets I had showed any signs of improvement with the modification, which left the JSB Diablo Exacts still the most potentially accurate for my Marauder. So I purchased a second tin and gave them a quick 4-shot tryout at 40 yards, unmodified. Wow, what a difference. It was like these pellets had already been modified. Even at 40 yards, the older pellets would have been shooting outside the larger circle. Could it be that the first 10 of JSBs I had were somehow different than this latest? A close visual inspection reveals some minor differences between the two pellets. The old pellet is on the left and the new pellet is on the right. Notice on the old pellet a faint belt wraps around the lower half of the skirt. The new pellet has no such belting. The old pellet also has a more prominent parting line. The parting line is rotated in the same spot here on the new pellet, but as you can see, it's definitely not as defined. Probably the biggest factor in the difference in accuracy between the old tin of pellets and the new is probably in how they measured. The old pellets measured about 0.214 on the head diameter, and the new pellets measured closer to 0.216. The skirt diameters were also a few thousandths difference. The old pellet measured about 221 to 223. And the new pellets measured closer to 224 to 226. So what we got here are the 3 remaining pellets from the old tin and plenty of new ones. So what I'm going to do is a 40-yard accuracy test between the two, and we'll see how much better the new tin of pellets are. I'm hoping that 40 yards is close enough so that the 3 pellets from the old tin are not flying off the paper like they did at 60 yards. And I found in the tin of new, while sorting through them, one pellet that appears to have the same markings as the old ones. And I colored the dome on that black, so we'll shoot that on the very last. So what we'll do is 10 rounds of the new, followed by the 3 old, and then the black dome one there, and we'll see what happens. Looks like that last pellet wanted to get back with his old buddies. You may have noticed that I made a change in my targets from my previous accuracy video. I had a comment left in that video stating that I should make a smaller point of aim and it might help my accuracy a little bit. So instead of a 2-inch point of aim, I'm now making a 1/2-inch point of aim, and I'm basically tracing it out of a normal CD here, just for a size reference. But yeah, so that's about a 1/2-inch circle that I'm aiming at now, whereas compared to the old targets, you can see it's quite a bit smaller. And so far it seems to be helping, so thanks for that. Okay, so that second tin is definitely an improvement over the first. But can we still gain any accuracy on the second tin by modifying them? Well, let's set the target back up at 60 yards again and do some comparison shots to find out. Well, the unmodified pellets won that by a little more than a 1/16 of an inch. Let's try it again, and this time we'll shoot the unmodified first. Dang, that last shot really destroyed the modified group's score. Otherwise it would have been less than a 3/4 inch group. But even counting the last shot, it still beat the unmodified by 1/16 of an inch. I suppose I'm a little upset that modifying the second batch of pellets isn't helping as much, but on the other hand, it's nice having decent accuracy right out of the tin. Alright, so the 14.66 grain Beeman Field Target Special won the most accurate 22 caliber pellet award in my previous Marauder accuracy and energy testing video. But can it still hold that title against the unmodified but much improved tin of JSBs? Spoiler ahead. No, it can't. Well, maybe the Beemans can hold their title. That one high flyer on the JSBs really lost it for him. Let's try it again in reversed order. Okay, no major flyers in the JSBs that time, and they won by about 5/16 of an inch. So what's the first thing you do when you finally find pellets that shoot well in your gun? You buy more, right? Of the same? Maybe not. But you look at the label though, they are the same. Carefully selected down here, carefully selected here, 1.175 Gs, 1.175 Gs. Diablo exact, they kind of rearranged that and say exact jumbo heavy Diablo, and then they put the jumbo heavy on this one over here. But yeah, they just rearranged some stuff and gave it a red color, and yeah, basically just changed the label a little bit. But I just wonder if the change in label has anything to do with the change that I've seen lately in the last batch of pellets. But since it's what's on the inside of the tin that counts, let's give them a test. These new JSBs suck. Again. After seeing this latest red tin of pellets take such a dive in accuracy, I really expected them to look something like what that first batch of pellets had that weren't shooting it very good at all. But as you can see, there's no belting around the skirt like that first batch had. And between the pellets that are shooting real good and this latest batch, I can't tell any difference at all. But size-wise, they're a little bit smaller. The head measures between 215 and 216, and the skirt measures about 223 to 224, which puts them about a thousandth of an inch smaller than the good pellets here overall. but not quite as small as what that very first batch of pellets had. So I guess the only question now is how well this new batch of pellets will take to the modification. And there's only one way to find that out, and that's test them. For the grand finale, 20 shots, non-stop, of the JSB Diablo Exacts. Or are we supposed to call them Exact Jumbo Heavy Diablos now? Either way, this is the latest, third tin, and all 20 have been modified. Well, that about wraps it up for the JSB match Diablo Exact carefully selected jumbo heavy Diablo airgun pellet modification video. I'm a bit disappointed that that last tin there didn't perform as good as that second tin. As you can see, I'm just about out of those. It would have been nice to, since this is my dad's 22 Marauder, it would have been nice to give it back to him and say, yeah, I finally found some pellets here that shoot well in your gun. But anyways, well, I got 3 more pellets here to eventually try out. I got the copper-coated version of the Beeman Field Target Special. We got some Beeman Crow Magnums. And we got what's called a New Boy. And they're about, what does it say, 28.6 grain pellet. That'd be about the heaviest I tried on the 22 so far, so I'll give those a try and see what happens. If nothing works out, I've heard rumors that the barrels for these Marauders are actually fairly cheap. So I might just try a new barrel in it and see if that helps anything. Yeah, so until then, if you got any of those JSBs, you might try the modification on them if you got a Marauder at least, and let me know what you come up with if it helps you at all. So that's about it, and thanks for watching.